Hello good people, welcome back to another video. Today we are going to talk briefly about the triangular trade. The triangular trade was a global trade that went on between Africa, the Americas and the Caribbean, and parts of Western Europe. It doesn't really matter that we call it a triangle. That doesn't really have anything to do with what was trading or what was happening. But the idea was basically that these three sections of the world, Africa, the Americas, and Western Europe, their locations on the globe formed a triangle. The first part of the triangular trade that we'll talk about is Europe. Europe is right here. And what Europe really wanted was raw materials. Some common raw materials they wanted were cotton and tobacco, and they were getting those from the Americas. England had manufactured goods. Some of the manufactured goods they were making from the raw materials, like clothing being made from cotton, but then they also had things like guns, things made out of iron. And they did sell some of that back to the Americas, but a good portion of that went to Africa. Africa wanted guns and wanted iron manufacturing goods, and so they were happy to receive those from England and Europe. And what did Africa have to trade? Africa had people. So Africa was trading slaves. Those slaves left Africa and they went to the Americas. Some went directly to Brazil, some went to the Caribbean, and some went up to North America. And now we get to the Americas. The Americas, they want cheap labor. So they want slave labor because they are producing a number of very labor-intensive crops. So they have crops like tobacco to sell, cotton to sell, and sugar to sell. So they are happy to trade those things for slaves that were coming from Africa. So this route of trading formed what we call the triangle trade because of its shape. Another important piece to remember is even though we had raw materials going to Europe from the Americas, we also had manufactured goods going to the Americas from Europe. And while we did have manufactured goods going to Africa, we also had things like gold and spices going back to Europe. And while we certainly had slaves coming from Africa to the Americas, we also had items like rum moving from the Americas to Africa. So it was a triangle trade, and all the trade routes did go in both directions. The biggies here to remember are manufactured goods from Europe going to Africa, slaves from Africa going to the Americas, and raw materials in the form of cotton, tobacco, and sugar going from the Americas. So that's it. Thanks for watching. Hope it helped.